Being 7 o'clock on 10/20/2016, call the Board of Health to order. We'll start with expense warrants.
Yep, I got 4.
Can I use your pen for a second? I hate to use this one.
It might be scented ink. I took it from Olivia.
I have no excuse for the one that I have.
Oh, a little chain of.
Ah, yes.
I actually have more than just red this time, so.
You don't want to use that?
I'm done using it. I'm gonna use my wrist.
Okay. Public session minutes for 10/6/2016. Brian, you made your comments. Lindsay, did you?
I had nothing else.
I had none.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the public session minutes from October 6, 2016.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Okay, and Glenn, you say that we could move right ahead on the 7:25 and the 7:30?
Yeah, I can't see why not. There weren't any abutter notices that had to go out for that.
Okay, and
If we do have anyone that comes, we can certainly entertain their questions.
okay, pardon my ignorance, is this the 7:30?
I believe so.
Okay.
For Northbridge?
Yes, sir.
Great, thank you.
So we can take you early, which is great. So if you want to come to the podium if you'd like, and we'll have Glenn start us off on the site plan and building permit review for 58 Great Neck Road South, Northbridge at Mashpee.
To move to continue Lakeside.
We can do that at the end.
Oh, great, thanks.
Yeah, we'll move to continue all the ones that don't show up or aren't here. Okay, so Glenn will start us off, and then if you'd like to make some comments, and then the board will discuss.
Okay.
This is a 82-bed memory care facility that's proposed at 58 Great Neck Road South. It's to the left of the power lines by Windchime Condos on Great Neck Road South. The facility actually shares the driveway to the Mashpee Commons Treatment Plant, just for a location. We reviewed this at least 2 times at site plan review, but it's been more than a year since it's come back to us. I figured you've been with Cape Cod Commission since.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yep, we have approval.
Ronnie and I have both reviewed the floor plans for the food facilities. There is a main kitchen, a bar lounge, a cafe, and a breakfast bar, which we've commented and sent those comments in already. There are dumpsters which are on slab and that are closed, and the drainage has a subsurface component which meets our requirements. I'm gonna let them take care of the rest because it's a pretty large facility, but I asked them not to do a big presentation, but really because we only have so much jurisdiction on as far as the other
Great.
smaller items.
Well, welcome.
Thank you. My name's Al Crapo. I'm with EGA Architects in Newburyport, Massachusetts. I have to apologize. I wasn't under the belief we were doing a presentation, but I happily did bring boards with me, just in case. So if you'd like, I can.
Sure.
There's a easel.
So, when we'll start with the sizzle while I get ready. This is a rendering, an artistic rendering of what the building will look like from Great Neck Road South, looking sort of south at the building. The building will be a two-story wood frame assisted living facility, and it will encompass some common use spaces, some office administration spaces, assisted living apartments that would range between studios, one-bedrooms, and two-bedrooms. And then there's also a memory support neighborhood component within the building, which is sort of inward focused around an inward courtyard that would have its own set of common spaces, dining, living, activities, with all of the apartments associated with that particular neighborhood. Those would be either a single or a double as far as an occupant. Those do not have the kitchenette component that you'd find in an assisted living apartment. The boards are a little worn out, apologize. We don't have a site plan, but I can kind of walk you through it a little bit, maybe here on an electrical plan. So this is a lighting plan, not quite the purpose you're looking for, but Great Neck Road South is to the bottom of the page. The view I was showing you in the previous rendering was looking towards the front door portion of the building, which is right here. The building is located so that north is to the left, this way. There's an easement along here for the power company, as well as for Mashpee Commons access to the treatment facility. And then the wind chime facility is located just over here to the south. The access to the building is off of Great Neck Road South, to the north side of the property, west side, but along the north corner. Coming in, there's an entry drive, some accessible parking spaces, a drop-off loop, and then the majority of the spaces are all tucked around this side of the building. And then there's a service access down in here. So service deliveries would come in and around and then back into this portion. This is the service wing of the building, and where the grease trap will be located for the sanitary exit. The dumpsters, as you can see, are located just off of this side of the building. And then there's also going to be fencing and other type of landscaping along here to buffer those components from the neighbors. I'll give you some insight for the layout. As I expressed earlier, again, north is to the left. There's an entry lobby in this area. An administration block is in the brown. All of the common spaces such as dining and living and cafe. The cafe is located over here. Is, it's not a Starbucks, it's kind of just a country kitchen kind of space, just to give people a congregation area where they can have coffee and muffins and that kind of stuff. All of the food prep will take place within the commercial kitchen, which is located back in here. There's also a pub. The pub itself is for residents. It's not for sale of liquor, or it's not going to give any kind of a liquor license or anything like that. It's just a name we give it to sort of bring on a connotation of a community drinking location, but really it's just maybe a glass of wine or an aperitif prior or after the dinner. And then down in here is the memory support neighborhood, so it's a controlled access into the neighborhood. Here, all of the commons for this memory support neighborhood are located off the courtyard. All of the resident rooms are outward looking, but inward circulation. And then there's the breakfast bar. So the breakfast bar is the internal country kitchen, if you will, for the memory impaired residents. So what that entails is essentially a stage set. It is meant to look like a residential kitchen so that it brings back the memories of home and hearth and kitchen and all that kind of function in the central core of the building, of their portion of the building. There are residential appliances as far as refrigerators and cooktop and microwave oven, etc. So it technically has the ability to do cooking And it could do a Thanksgiving meal if they had to, but that's not the intent, and that's not what happens. And since it's, connected back to the commercial kitchen, all of the food prep and washing, et cetera, takes place back in here. And this is the second level, the top level of the building. There's some vertical circulation pieces, which are stairs and elevators, but it gets you up to this level, which has a few nodes of common spaces, such as an activities room, which is multi-purpose, arts and crafts, many functions. And then there's also a small beauty salon, which is located here with a small massage room. There's a fitness room and a little wellness room. The remainder of the plan is all assisted living apartments.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Lucy, any questions?
I think it's wonderful.
Thank you.
This is really loud.
You can say it loudly, it's okay.
Glenn, did you have any concerns or questions about the beauty salon, chemicals, et cetera, going into?
No, it's all tied to the treatment plant.
Okay. Okay. I know Calliope's gonna ask some questions about recycling and compost.
Did you have any questions about the threshold for the state regulations for food composting? Did you already express those?
No,
or-
I haven't. I was gonna ask that tonight. Just a question regarding, meeting the composting, the 1 ton per week for food waste. Do you think that, you're gonna breach that threshold, or,
I don't, I have Jenna with me here tonight, and she's actually been with Northbridge Companies for quite some time, and she is the executive director of the Pine Hills property, Laurelwood, in Plymouth. And we had a discussion earlier, and I think that's exceeding the threshold that you'd ever get to as far as the amount of food prep that you make. But judging back to the ratio of the number of meals per day, I think the number of meals today is probably around around 200 meals a day total, and that's the maximum number they would ever be offering.
yeah,
The product for the facility, even though it's an assisted living facility, the assisted living apartments have kitchens within, and again, they're not tremendous kitchens, but they are enough so that, small meals can be made within each apartment. As far as the commercial kitchen goes, the maximum number would be about 200, 210 meals a day if every single person had 3 meals.
is
So-
the Plymouth facility of similar size to this?
It's a little larger.
It's a little larger, okay.
Yeah, so judging by what takes place at that location, that amount of waste sounds large compared to what we'd be.
Okay, so you don't think it'll meet the 1 ton per week?
No,
Okay, no, that's fine. But the dumpsters you have there, one is a recycling, one is solid waste?
that's
Okay.
correct.
Okay,
Multiple dumpsters.
yeah. That's, just to share with the board some of the comments that I made for the kitchen. That there is a main kitchen, there is a breakfast bar, and in the breakfast bar, I understand it's set up, but there is service there. They do serve food there, and they are gonna be taking dirty dishes back through there, so there was no hand sink in that. So we asked for a hand sink to be put in because there was just a main, not a utility sink, but it was a larger single stainless that didn't look like it was gonna be dedicated for hand washing.
That's correct, and thank you for that. We actually just added it this past week.
Okay.
We'll be issuing construction drawings soon, and we had the plumbing engineer add that to his document. So now, within the breakfast bar, if you remember the plan, there was like a one long wall where all of the appliances are located, and you turn the corner, there's a counter space that was empty. We went ahead and added a hand sink, a specialized hand sink just for that one location. So we now have 2 sinks. We have the sink for the kitchen, and then a specialized hand sink for the staff.
The cafe had that one main general utility sink.
Yes.
And I did not think there was gonna be any so-called service there, so I didn't think a hand sink was warranted there.
Okay.
So, and granted, that looked like an area where everything would be returned back to the kitchen, because it didn't look like a service area.
Yeah, the intent there is not a service area.
Right.
It's basically air pots, things like that for coffee. But you were correct regarding the breakfast bar. since that is actually how the food gets served to the residents within the memory support neighborhood. They don't leave that neighborhood to go have dinner at the dining rooms directly attached, forgive me, sorry, to the commercial kitchen. Essentially, they get served from a hot well onto plates, and then they get served there, and then everything gets cleaned up and then brought back to the main commercial kitchen again. But you're right, a hand sink.
The other reason too, in the breakfast bar area, is that there was a dishwasher there.
Yes, sir.
So they're gonna be handling potentially dirty dishes and then going back to handling clean dishes, and they need the ability to wash their hands. And if there's any dirty dishes in the main utility sink, there's no place to do a dedicated hand wash.
Understood.
So
Yep.
that.
That's a good point.
There were several issues for that. There was another hand sink that was in between the ice bin and the ice cream. And my opinion, it was just gonna get blocked because you have two block-style pieces of equipment and stuff always gets placed in front of the, whatever is smaller in between. So there's no sense on having that when there are other hand sinks basically within 2 steps or 3 steps away. So I'd rather do that trade-off and get rid of one and put the hand sink in where it's gonna be more useful in the breakfast bar.
Yes, sir. That's exactly what we did, was we removed the one, we actually relocated it, the sink that you had mentioned in the commercial kitchen, from its sort of awkward location.
Yep. I actually wanted to get rid of the one in the dish cleaning area where the commercial washer is, but I got overruled on that one.
It's okay.
Because there's another one right at the end of the wall.
Sure. Oh.
But
Choices.
because there's a high enough energy going on in each area, one was a prep area, one is a dishwash area, they had their own dedicated uses. So that's really it. That was a very nice plan. But they've been poured over for 2 years now, so.
It's been a while.
Try not to.
Good, inventing the wheel. Brian, do you have any comments or questions?
No, I have nothing.
Can anyone smoke on the property?
I don't
All of
believe,
our properties moved to non-smoking.
Okay. And then it's a assisted living facility in that sense, so there is a medical staff on, is there?
there is yes, there's a 24-hour staff,
Okay.
as far as 3 shifts overnight. Yeah, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't really have so much a question about the medical staff. I more am curious about when someone has no longer a need for the medications they're using in the facility, what's the strategy for the disposal of the unwanted medications?
Most of
So if
our-
you could actually just introduce yourself for the record in the microphone, and then also speak into the microphone so that those folks or folk at home, those one person that watches us, they know.
Okay, absolutely. I'm Jenna Anderson, and I'm the Senior Executive Director at Laurelwood at the Pine Hills for the Northbridge Companies. And so to answer your question, most of our residents, medications come into our building 2 ways. They come in via either a family or they utilize a pharmacy service that we partner with. Currently, our community at Laurelwood partners with North Falmouth Pharmacy. So I would say about 95% of our residents utilize that service because it's free of charge. They just pay their co-payments to North Falmouth Pharmacy, and North Falmouth delivers it to the site. So when a medication changes or needs to be disposed of, the pharmacy takes care of it. If it's the 5% or so, or if it's anyone that is a family-filled cassette, then the family is responsible for removing it from the property.
Can you tell me again the name of the pharmacy?
We utilize North Falmouth Pharmacy,
Falmouth, okay.
and they're terrific, so I would imagine, barring anything unforeseen, we would partner, or we would look to partner with them again, should I say.
Got it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I have nothing else to ask or add.
When the family brings their own medications and then disposes of them later, is there any kind of instructions or postings or anything as far as, obviously our concern is that we don't want them just to throw them away or
Flush them.
flush them.
There are two, do you want me to go back? I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Yes, they are to remove them off the premises and dispose of them at their personal residence.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Do I hear a motion or?
I'll move to approve the building permit with the condition that the $200 plan review fee be paid and the operators of the food establishment obtain a food establishment permit from the Board of Health prior to opening.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Guess we can go to 165 Willow Bend, the variance request from the Board of Health septic inspection regulation, since Mr. Crane is here. And then we'll move the rest of them to the next meeting. Mr. Crane, thank you for coming. Glenn's gonna start us off, then we'll go to you, and then the board will discuss.
Okay, a septic inspection was performed on September 8, 2016, which identified that the distribution box had to be replaced at the property. A letter was sent to the owners to order the repair of the D-box prior to property transfer. It's a very simple inspection and order letter that was sent.
Good night, thank you.
you.
Do you have anything that you'd like to add? If you do, just.
If you
step
could at
up
the
to mic
podium,
and
please.
Introduce yourself.
Kevin Corain for the Daniels, owners of the property at 165 Willow Bend Drive. This property is under agreement for sale, closing scheduled for November 1st. The system was inspected and conditionally passed, as Glenn has indicated. The new owner has agreed that they will be tying into the Willow Bend sewage treatment plant. I do have a copy of the septic agreement that new owner has signed. I'm waiting for the original to appear in the mail, but I'll be happy to provide the board with a copy of that. So I've structured it basically that they anticipate that this will be done before January 1st, but structured it essentially 60 days from the date of the closing, or January 1st, whichever is later.
Lucy, any questions, comments, concerns?
No, I think that this one is pretty straightforward. Everybody's in agreement on the timing. Glad to hear they're tying into the treatment plant. It all sounds like it's in order to me.
Brian?
And everything has been worked out with the folks at the treatment plant for doing the connection as far as septic flow and everything like that. But they're all set there.
Yeah, I don't think that's an issue.
I don't know the process. We're not really involved in that, so I don't know what that process is. It's all basically handled internally, I would think, through the development office.
Yeah, I mean, the system was, I believe, has been designed, it accepts sewage not only from Willow Bend, but also from some of the surrounding communities.
Yeah, Katuitt Bay, for sure.
When the project was originally developed, the initially 64 lots along Willow Bend Drive were allowed to be constructed with septic systems because of the nature of the way the project was originally developed as a single-family residential housing. And then after discussions and negotiations with DEP, they were concerned about single-family residential dwellings if it were not a condominium form of ownership. So after a while, the project was converted to a condominium. However, there were 64 homes that were developed with their own septic systems, and this is one of them. I believe most of them have probably tied into the plant by now.
This may be the last one.
It could
One
very
or
well.
two, that's it.
Could
I was
very
kinda
well be.
surprised
They're
to see
very,
that.
Yeah.
So
very
this is
few
a
left.
copy of the agreement that's showing the 60 days.
Okay. Do you want to see that?
My next question was gonna be as whether there's a stub out in the street for it, so that's good to hear they're all connected. Okay.
All right, I will make a motion to approve the variance as submitted for 165 Willow Bend Drive with the condition that the property is connected to the Willow Bend treatment plant within 60 days of closing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So
thank you
moved.
very much.
Thanks for coming in. So, let's just review the agenda and look at the 7:15, 7:20, pardon me, the 7:30, and are all those gonna go on to the first November meeting?
Yes,
And what date is that? November
3rd.
3rd?
Can we make a motion for all three at once, or do they have to be done individually?
I would do them individually,
Okay.
please.
Brian or Lucy?
Yeah, I move to continue the show cause hearing for 701 Great Neck Road South. Are we doing them all at once?
Singularly.
Thank you. Okay.
Before I second that and move on from that, it seems like that's somewhat time-sensitive, that there's lingering outstanding issues that haven't been addressed. And the longer we put this off, the longer
Everything has been addressed.
everything has been addressed.
Yes,
Okay. I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So
as
moved.
of yesterday, yes.
Okay, 7:20, the asbestos and rodent control violation at Lakeside Estates.
I will make a motion to continue the agenda item on the asbestos and rodent control violations at Lakeside Estates.
Was there any reason given for the continuance?
Merely a conflict in scheduling was what was written, which was exactly the same reason last time.
Okay. Do we, just as a matter of procedure, can we, at some point, hold the hearing without continuing despite his lack of presence in the room? I mean, can we just continue
I
indefinitely?
believe we can,
or-
because I always have the ability to appeal.
Okay, okay. Second.
But, in my opinion, as long as we can show the court that we've given them every opportunity.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And 7:30, the nitrogen aggregation loading plan for 32 Marway.
I'll move to continue the discussion of nitrogen aggregation loading plan at 32 Marway.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Good. Move to old business, the sanitary code violation at Deer Crossing Condominium Unit U-137.
Okay, so the board reviewed this on September 15th. And at that meeting, the board had requested that a health agent visit the property weekly, which has occurred, and to have the oxygen tanks in the dwelling either removed or secured. I did find out that the tanks there are considered emergency supply and needed to remain, but so they were secured. Pictures have been taken each time that the agent has gone. I did copy them and gave them to Brian, so he has them on his laptop, and I can just, but I'll read through the rest of my comments first. The compliance status of the property is to be reviewed at this meeting, and the status of the property really hinges upon the aid that the owner gets, as the owner is not physically capable of performing any work. And so the list of people that are currently involved are Andrew Pacheco from Elder Services, he's the home care supervisor, and Megan from Anodyne. Anodyne was hired by Elder Services. Vanessa from the VNA is a home health aide, and Susan Hood, who is the caseworker from Northeast Services. So there are several people who go to the property. The home health aide was there for 2 hours a week. Her amount of time was increased. Ronnie did call and spoke with Elder Services and was able to increase the amount of time that the home health aide was going to work there. So I believe it went to 4 hours. I'm not sure. I believe that was the amount of hours. And most of the work that you're going to see that has been done, albeit limited, they basically started at the front door and worked their way in, and they're into the kitchen right now.
Okay,
And so the pictures And I can tell you what pictures to look at as far as the before and after, because there's a lot of pictures there.
Can you
That's what
remember
I
all
was
those numbers?
I wrote them down.
Maybe it's good
course
to
you
have like
did.
a timestamp, date stamp.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, were those before or after, or a combination?
Some of
They're-
them were definitely before, remember, because all the,
Yeah.
we've
Yes,
seen those.
all of the pictures are there. You can tell them by date of when they were taken, so they were taken at different times.
Okay. So it was, there's ones that
The-
you specifically wanted us to eyeball?
Yes,
Which ones are those?
156A,
Brian's gonna be my AV man, person, pardon me.
so,
Oh, this one here. Shot of the kitchen area.
yes, 156A. Actually, 348A is a before, if you want to go down to 348.
He's 148. Oh, there we go. Oh, did you say A or 3? Oh, A.
348A,
Oh, okay.
that's a before, and then 156A is an after. So they're starting to pick up a little more bare floor. The home health aid, I guess, is relatively short and can't reach all of the cabinetry, so Ronnie's gonna go tomorrow and get everything off of the counter and back up into the counter,
Or
into
she needs
the
one of
shelves.
Grabbers things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the general store thing.
Yeah.
But at least the oxygen tanks are all accounted for?
the
I
tanks
mean, are they still
tanks are
under?
accounted for and secured. If you look at 155,
They're in a box,
Mhm.
yeah.
yeah,
So they're
there's
level.
there's a clear shot of, on 155,
Yeah, so they're level and they're secured, so they're not gonna tip over.
right. And that's really as far as they've gotten, so at this point, I would recommend that the agent still visit on a weekly basis. She's been going on Fridays, which has seemed to work, and that we review this in another 30 days. But the key is that there's still plenty of people involved. And in the other cases that we dealt with, there just have not been that much cooperation. And I think she fully understands the bearing and the weight of the decision that the board could make.
Well, Ronnie's great to keep going over there, and I'm glad that there's some resources that are all working together on this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there anything you see, Glenn, that we could do? It's hardly proactive, because we know statistically there's a large population of people that potentially could be encountering this issue, along with their friends, their family, their, like, their community. And, it could potentially, obviously, be a drain on municipal resources.
Right.
Is there any proactive approach about raising awareness and education? I mean, we did the buried treasure, in the sense that we talked about it, we thought about maybe getting it here at our COA.
All of the factions that hold that know that we would be willing to do that. Right now, because Falmouth has not a stronger following, but I guess they have a facility and other actual therapists in Falmouth that are holding but they know that we're fully available to handle something like that.
And so we know every town is different, from Provincetown to Bourne, and everyone in between, and is there any, like, unique qualities to the hoarding we see in Mashpee that are differing from maybe our neighboring towns, or even further down at Cape?
No, I think they're finding that the causes, there's more similarity in the causes, even though that every town has it. It typically is caused by some loss in the family, and that seems to be a main item within the person's life.
And the objects that they're hoarding, they tend to be similar, because we know from just experience in, in journalism and media, that people could hoard all different kinds of things, as it were.
Yeah, the objects are probably the most varied thing, because I've seen trains to food And it gets worse when they're dirty food items. And that's when we have to look at both the cluttering and the filth. And that's when it starts to really, really get kind of ugly. But one of also the things that we've seen too is that we don't know if it's merely the collection of the items or if it's merely the embarrassment to ask for help. In one of the situations where there were, the person was living on their own, and I don't know if they really had the ability or were too embarrassed to ask for help, and there were, human diapers and stuff that was being collected, and so that just pushed the filth meter off the scale. And
Don't tell me
where
you guys carry
someone,
around a filth meter.
right, so where if someone had asked for help and could work on it on a regular scheduled basis to go and help that person, just merely take the trash out and to help with that, a lot of the filth side of it could have been controlled.
Do you think there's like a place that people know where they can get help? Like and is it a certain demographic that we're encountering? Like, it seems to me that it's senior citizens, but, I'm not in the
Yeah.
trenches with you, so I don't
This,
know.
this person was a senior and was active at the senior center.
Is there like an outreach program
So-
there? So like, like a poster there that says if you need to ask for help, this is who you go to? So it's like real clear, like if you're,
Folks in the senior center were active within the hoarding task force. So I can only think that they had the flyers out and available with all of their other information at the senior center. So, other than more than, advertising on a big poster that's individual for hoarding, I would say that the individual flyers were absolutely available.
one last question, pardon me. Do you think that people that hoard know that they hoard?
No,
So, like,
because that's one of the big things with the hoarding is that there has to be some recognition for it.
So like it might not be, it could be not knowing who to ask for help or being too embarrassed to ask for help, but it almost might be like that they can't see their forest for their trees. Like,
No, absolutely.
So it might be the,
Absolutely.
like what are the signs of hoarding? Like if I had, like, these are the signs of a stroke, these are the signs of, there's all those little things that,
Yep.
those little memes that show up on my feed that tell me like that this is if you experience this is what's happening. Because, we're not, all of us are doctors or psychiatrists or what have you, so it almost might be good to say, like, these are do you notice, like, you can't get from point A to point B in your home because you're obstructed by whatever it is?
Right.
You might be a hoarder because it's almost like, I don't know what an epidemic is in the classical definition, but it feels like statistically a great deal of our population could be encountering this crisis.
Right.
And it feels like somehow it would be good to be able to enable people to recognize that they're in the middle of a crisis and then identify where they can go for assistance that is a place that they can feel, that they can trust, as opposed to feeling embarrassed. And I'm not saying that
Yeah.
the Council on Aging staff is not, I'm sure they're,
Right.
as good as they possibly can be, but it just feels like maybe there's a step that we're missing or a gap that's not being filled or something.
I think it's something like 5% of the general population, if I remember
So
correctly.
5 to
And I
6%,
think-
yeah.
And I think I recall from one of the hoarding task force presentations that it's the most common demographic is actually middle-aged men who have been divorced at some point in their life. I seem to recall that being one of the,
So maybe like
Statistics.
outreach to the men's club or something like that, or, is this you, or is it someone that you know, or, do these people, so 5% of 14,000, our year-round population, that starts adding up if you need municipal resources.
Sure.
Never mind all these peripheral, assistance organizations.
Yeah, we're getting closer to having hoarding. Hoarding is recognized as a diagnosable disease, and I say we as in all of the boards of health are working on And the task forces throughout the state are still pressing the insurance companies to, and the legislators, to get money available for therapy. And that's really what it comes down to, is we can go out and do the cleanouts as many times as we want, but it's not truly healing the disease. So if we do a cleanout, we'll be there again. So I think that that day is coming, and it's looking better and better. And again, Erica was looking to get tied in with the county so that she can get grant funding. And I think as the legislators see more and more of the success stories like we have done and Erica's been involved with, then things will start to change as far as getting enough money to get some real working therapy for the individuals who have this just horrible kind of disease they have to live with on a daily basis, when we need to help them and improve their quality of life.
If indeed that demographic is what you're referring to, and I think you're probably spot on, it seems like it would be part of the whole divorce, the exit strategy, it's like that counseling for this so that we can mitigate it from the onset as opposed to before it gets so out of control. But I think recognizing the signs of it, like I think we could all live in our homes and think that everything that we're living within is reasonable, especially if you don't get out and about and visit other people or have a social network where you're, part of a larger community. You might not recognize that you're starting to encroach onto a mental health crisis.
I think that's the biggest part of this is recognizing that in yourself, and at what point it's probably way far beyond by the time they say, oh, hey, yeah, maybe I have a problem. Because knowing that you have a problem is really hard, no matter what it is, but especially for something like this. Oh, yeah, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine.
Especially if it feels comforting.
Right, and maybe you're living alone and not many people come over and see. I think that's one of our biggest, when we've come across this, it's people who are, it's isolation and it's the emergency services that come in and call the Board of Health.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're just keeping it on our radar of like any way we can raise awareness with groups of people that can, I hate to say target, but like really like, bring that awareness level to their groups, their members, like the men's club or council on aging, if there's anything we can do about that. Glenn, do you have anything else to add to the agenda?
No.
Okay, and again, under discussion, I haven't been able to aggregate the information to give you any information, so I'll
That's
do
fine.
that.
I can keep it. We'll
November
continue
3rd.
that to keep it on the next
Okay.
agenda.
Okay, Brian, Lucy, anything else?
I don't think so.
Do you mind making a motion just to continue what we're doing with U-137?
Continue, so we're gonna,
I will make a motion to continue the weekly visits by the health agent at Unit 137 Deer Crossing, and to continue the work by the agencies involved to this point.
Second?
And review in,
And review in 30 days.
thank you.
Second.
can we request that these agencies stay involved in our motion? Like, I'm not sure if we're allowed to do that. I mean, we're hopeful they'll stay involved. And they have a commitment to stay involved, but we can't require them to stay involved.
Well, I think it still gives the board the right to review if something changes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so moved. If there's nothing else, I'll close this meeting. Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. At 7:45. Didn't think we were gonna be out of here that quickly. Thought you were gonna have to make your daughter wave driver's ed.
When I drive like a maniac to get to driver's ed.